Hey, folks. Welcome to Friendly Orbit, the podcast that draws us together no matter how far we fly. I'm Ceres, Revolutionary Ranger, and I'm joined by.
The saddest character ever. It's Thea.
We have a confession to make.
Yeah, we are filthy, filthy liars today because we have recorded an episode that we're not very satisfied with going through our first crossroad. Specifically, it was awkward, it felt stilted, we didn't get all the rules right. So we will simply redo that exact same crossroad and then we'll move back into the unknown. And hopefully that will be interesting to listen to.
Perfect.
But first, what is a crossroad? And what is this even about? We are playing Kingdom.
Yes. Actually,
A narrative.
I was just about to roll into the intro. You're right.
No, a narrative, kind of collaborative world building and storytelling game written by Ben Robbins, the same author of Microscope and of the D&D game style called West Marches. And this is our third episode playing Kingdom. So in the last episode, we have given a name to our little community that was frontier community that was born of an archaeological expedition and is now threatened by fire monsters of the exploration age of our megafauna world, Cinderhollow.
If you're curious about Cinderhollow, listen to the previous episodes, and if you're curious what megafauna world is, watch the thing with Microscope. Watch us play Microscope.
Yeah. And in the last episode, we have populated Cinderhollow with characters. We have defined that there is a joint priesthood of the tree. We have defined that there is a body of rangers who are both protectors and foragers in this community. While half of the food is collected by them, there's also caterpillar farmers in the mud pits. The Rangers are led by a ranger captain, and the entire community is led by a council of two, with two counselors essentially occupying the position for 2 years. And the position rotates every 2 years and is given to somebody else, so it is not elective. We've also decided
we tried to do a Rome thing, and then we decided to try not to do a Rome thing, and we ended with a Rome thing.
Yeah. We also have a mysterious cultist oracle from Discord people, with a shadowy past, whose motives are not very clear. And finally, we have decided that Cinderhollow is slowly reconnecting with the mainland, and the emissary who's guiding this this kind of integration with the mainland is a guild emissary, a fire, obsidian, spider, scorpion person called Corcel. Corcel is one of the characters that we've created. We've created a bunch of minor characters that will be played by Ceres and I. Corcel is, again, this guild emissary. Ceres is also playing Tarn, a big, bulkful counselor, but is a junior to the other counselor and therefore more malleable and more unsure. A total yes man. On my side, we have Naran, a moss farmer of status who's dissatisfied with the current political climate and wishes for change. And the aforementioned oracle called Unquali, who is very interested in exploring the nearby ruins and wants the rangers to delve deeper, but doesn't really say why. And this is our cast of minor characters, but we have two main characters who will drive most of the story. Ceres, what's your main character?
My main character is Zula. Zula is an insect folk person, an erythri, they're called in this setting. And she looks kind of like a wasp. So she's good at fighting, she's agile, she uses weapons well. This game has like roles for how you get to impact the narrative, and her role is the role of the touchstone, which I'm sure we'll talk about later a little bit. But basically, the way she feels about the situation is how the people feel about a situation.
Yeah, most of the people, but yes.
Yeah, exactly. So her ability is basically being in tune. She is the captain of the Rangers, which means that she's, very important to the protection and to the feeding of the city. And she's popular because she's insightful and wise and helpful. And she's good at listening to people and figuring out what their actual problem is and helping address it. Should we do bonds yet, or do you want to introduce your half of it and then we could do bonds?
I'll introduce my half of it. I think it makes sense. I'm playing Krellick, an old Myconid councilman, the senior councilman to Tarn. He is old,
Ancient
and
fungus.
yeah, exactly. And he comes from an era. He was raised in the ashes of like the foundation of Cinderhollow. And so he has a nostalgic sentiment for a time where Cinderhollow was able to blossom of its own, and he is afraid of what will happen to Cinderhollow if we become too dependent on the motherland and become simply a colony through the actions of Corcel. Krellick wields the role of power as he is in power, very unsurprisingly,
Aptly named,
and
yes.
aptly named. Yeah, exactly.
So what
And
Krellick says happens at the end when we go through Crossroads.
exactly. And Krellick is really wants to see that his reforms pass because he's at when his term will expire, he will probably die before he can ever see another one.
That's true. I hadn't thought about that. If you have a rotating
And
chair
he's
and you live
gentle.
long
Yeah,
enough, you might,
yeah,
and you get lucky enough, you might be in power multiple times.
yeah. And
So
yeah,
each of our
so yeah.
characters have bonds, which are sort of connections, right? They have to another. The bonds have to be symmetrical. So Zula's first bond is to Krellick. Krellick is a sort of a replacement father figure who stepped in at a point in time in Zula's life when she was young and needed guidance and needed a father figure. And so she has a huge amount of respect for him personally, although politically, she really thinks that his notions are outdated and don't align with what the people want. What's Krellick's reverse bond?
Well, Krellick's version side of that bond is that he really cares about Zula, and he feels like she and the people are leaving him and his ideas behind, that he's being forgotten.
Yeah.
I think I need to stretch at this point, like Krellick and nobody here can really be a career politician.
Yeah.
Krellick has spent most of his life probably just like having these thoughts and feeling like this. Well, not his
Yeah.
entire life, but over time, these feelings have grown, and then eventually it was his turn to be on the council. But like
Yeah.
everybody else, he's been a civilian for most of his life.
What's your second bond, Krellick?
Well, naturally, Krellick grew up with a lot of respect for the Ranger Corps because of the service that they have provided to the community for the entire time, and he has a lot of respect for the office of the captain of the Rangers, which Zula is currently occupying. What is Zula's other side of this?
Zula's symmetrical bond is she thinks the city council system is flawed and kind of sucks and is outdated for this society, especially the fact that you don't really need to worry about re-election, especially when you're close to the end of your term. You don't really have to worry about consequences at all. So, yeah, she doesn't quite have the same respect towards Krellick's institution that Krellick has towards her.
Yeah. So every character is also associated with some locations. Why don't you tell us which locations your character hangs out at the
Oh,
most and
sure.
why?
You can find Zula in two places, either in the chitinous Myconid watchtower, where the rangers keep, watch for incoming dangers, or in the moisture pits, where she is speaking to the people like Naran and other farmers, the sort of other half of the providers. Where
Yeah.
can Krellick be found?
Krellick can mainly be found at the main city hall, where he exercises his duty as counselor. And in his private time, he is hanging out at the Hall of Memory, the cemetery, where he reminisces and visits his friends.
Okay.
Yeah, and with this, I think we're apologize for the long intro, long intro. But I think that we're finally ready to roll.
Time to roll the intro.
Time to roll the intro. We'll see you again at the crossroads.
Ignition sequence start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine
Well, Thea, I'm pretty sure that was our longest intro ever.
Well, I sure hope so. That remains true for the future as well.
Should wait till next episode. We'll
Wait
do
until
it
next
again.
episode. Yeah. All
All right.
right.
So we go into the part of the game now. We have our characters set up. We have all of our stuff set up. So now we actually start playing the game. So how does the turn-by-turn structure of playing the game work?
The game works this way. We will go through different crossroads. Every crossroad is a difficult, a moment of choice for the kingdom to make. It needs to be an active choice that the kingdom makes. It needs to be a binary choice between yes or no. And we will take turns essentially setting up scenes with our main characters and other characters that will interact with one another. And each scene will hopefully reveal something about how our players feel, and will feature players potentially using their power to make decisions. For example, their role, but which one of the roles is power. So, for example, as Kralik, I could make a decision in a scene that is not necessarily already saying yes or no, but it could be deciding that for a course of action to pursue within the crossroad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and every crossroad has to fill the formula, will the kingdom ... So we pose
Exactly.
this question, will the kingdom ... yes or no question, and then we go back and forth doing these scenes with our characters, slowly building evidence either for the yes side or the no side, or for a crisis.
Yes.
So each time we finish a scene, we decide if that is more in the yes or no category. And then we decide if this is building progress on the crossroads, meaning we get an extra crossroads point, basically, or if this is building progress towards a crisis, meaning we get an extra crisis point. We can get up to 4 of each. They recommend 4 at least when you're playing with 2 players. We might use 3. We haven't fully decided on that yet. But basically, once you have 3 crossroads, you resolve this crossroads, and once you have 3 crises, you go into the whole crisis minigame where your civilization can end. So that one you don't really want to go to. And the way that
Yes.
it kind of works, the meta structure of crossroads and crises is that normally you do many crossroads, but only a few crises, which is why the crossroad meter resets every time you go to a new crossroads, whereas the crisis meter doesn't reset every time you go to a new crossroads. It builds up over time.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
So what happens at a crossroads? When we resolve a crossroad, what are the steps we go to?
Well, everyone will use their role to decide what decision is taken, what the consequences are, and how the people feel about it. But I think we can go into more of the details of that when we actually finish our first crossroad.
Okay.
All right. So
Then it is
let's
time
begin.
for our first crossroads of the recording today.
Yes. Yeah, as we said before, we have actually already gone through this one, but we will try to roughly repeat it as we did last time, but maybe with a couple of more interesting spins if we manage to.
Everyone knows the expression "second time's the charm."
Yeah,
There's nothing to be worried about.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have to believe that second time's the charm when you go through the second time, so you can get to the third time, right?
Which is actually the charm. You have to placebo effect yourself. All right, what's our first crossroads?
So our first crossroad was: will the kingdom send a ranger expedition into the ruins? And to add more context, I added that Corcel wishes to finance an expedition and share whatever loot is found, and that Unquali is naturally in favor of that.
Yeah. So we have the guild emissary. We have the guild emissary and our cryptic priest teaming up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I created last time. I created this crossroads, so we'll still say that this is my first turn. So for our first scene, we will have Krellik and Zula and Tarn having a secret council meeting between just the 3 of them, without Corcel or Unquali, to discuss. The scene will be set in the main hall, which is an underwater aquaturn full of fluorescent algae that makes the cave kind of like illuminated from below, while we stand on these giant lily pads. The hall is empty. The meeting is secret, and Krelek speaks to Zula and Tarn.
Well, Krellick,
I have.
you called me in this late. I assume there's something dangerous afoot.
There sure is something dangerous afoot. I would like to hope that you share my worries. Zula, I believe you have heard already about Corsel's new brave announcement.
I have. It didn't seem dangerous to me. It seemed like a good idea.
Well, perhaps you don't remember what happened to the Rangers the last time you went in.
Well, I think better. I think with better equipment and better supplies going in this time, we might be able to avoid that. And who says we have to delve as deep as the last group did anyways? Maybe we can stay on the outside. I mean, yes, it's not something we want to repeat, but it's been a while at this point, and those ruins do have potential.
Hmm. Yeah, it sure feels a lot safer and a lot easier with Corsel's equipment, doesn't it?
It is safer, Tarn says.
Safer is one word for it. Easier is another. I want to remember that we have not built Cinderhollow because it was easy and safe. It was difficult. It was hard. But we've made a great home out of it. We don't need to rely on their help, Sula.
So you would rather we do an expedition without Corsel's financials?
Maybe there is no need for an expedition at all.
That's the rub. Look, Kralik, I understand that you don't like the idea of us exploring the ruins, and you have every right not to like the ruins, based on the history that you have with them. But for a lot of people, that is ancient history, outside of their lifetimes. And there was a reason we were originally sent to investigate those ruins so many years ago. I mean, who knows what technology from the ancient empires might still be in there? If anything, it could help us set up Cinderhollow better and grow from a frontier town into a self-sufficient city of its own.
There is no self-sufficiency with Corsel. You know that, right? Once we start relying on his technology, might start demand for bigger and bigger portions of the loot.
I don't know what she's going to ask of us in future, but can't we confront her then, when the problem is grown?
That's short-sighted. If we only act when the problem is there, it might be already too late. I've seen the tides of history change this place, and by the time you realize it's been changing, often it has been too late. I want to leave my post knowing that Cinderhollow will flourish on its own terms and not on their terms. And having our rangers start to rely on the Heartland for their equipment, we might start to overextend ourselves and not be able to maintain whatever brave new conquests we achieve without their help. That's my worry. But,
Cinderhollow should flourish on its own terms, Tarn says.
Well
I
said.
agree with Krellick.
Well said. Well put, Councillor Tarn. Listen,
Look, either way, no matter what argumentations we make in this room, I have a strong feeling that I will not be able to stop functionally the entire city from ever visiting the ruin. And more specifically, I do feel there is an element amongst my rangers that deeply wants to explore the world around us and wants to finally figure out the reason we were ever here in the first place in this tree, or next to it now. I worry if we don't okay some kind of expedition, one will happen nonetheless, one over which we'll then not have any control because it's happening without our approval. Isn't there some kind of compromise we can make here? Where we make a small expedition that doesn't dig too deep, that follows a set of orders you give them? If we stand too firm in our offices, eventually our authority will snap. It's better to bend early. I like this idea, Tarn says.
People truly seem to have come to take our security for granted. Whatever we find into those ruins, well, let us be optimistic. We will approve an expedition. But Corsell will not be a part of that. We will make deal with our tools, and we will ask for the priesthood to assist. A small group, rangers and priests of Cinderhollow. How does that sound, Zula?
I think it's the minimum we have to do, yes.
Then that is.
I think we can work with that.
That is what we will do. But we will not concede more than we absolutely have to.
Okay. Small team, the rangers most dedicated to exploration, and a few of the members of the Sky Gods cult.
Yeah. Listening to the people is all good, Zula, but being in a position of power and responsibility sometimes means that you make a difficult choice, the unpopular one, that you know in your heart is right.
I know, Krellick. I'll do my best.
Krellick puts his mycelial hand on her shoulder and nods in approval.
She gives him an uncertain smile. She doesn't, in her heart of hearts, she does not feel this is resolved.
And I think, scene?
Sure. Perfect.
Curtain call.
All right.
All right. So we have concluded our first scene.
We have
concluded our first scene, and now we go through this next step in a round, which is reactions. Well, actually, first it's crossroads. It's checking a box. It was my scene. I get to pick. This was not a perfect, but an amicable resolution. So I will check off a crossroads box, not a crisis box.
Yep, that makes sense to me.
Yeah. Next, we have reactions. Reactions can be like small scenes. They usually They must involve your main character's reaction. They can involve another character, but we're not going to like roleplay through them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Zula's reaction at this point is to go and start the work required to organize a team of her rangers who are most dedicated to exploration. That's sort of the part that she left out of the conversation, is that she is one of them. And so she's going to be leading this team personally. So she starts working on that.
Perfect.
Without Corsell's funding or, people.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay, so reactions. I think that for Krellick, it's definitely going to be. I'm gonna keep the reaction I used last time. I think Krellick goes to the temple, and he tries to commute with the Spore Queen. And as the Spore Queen's philosophy and the Myconid philosophy is one of harmony, and he is looking for guidance for how to find to find harmony in the community that keeps the interest of the heartland outside of Cinderhollow.
Why talk to the community when you can talk to a philosophical representation of the community instead?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Kralik is not touchstone for a reason.
I want to give Tarn a reaction.
I wanted to actually say one more thing.
Oh, okay.
So last time, one of the things that we did wrong in according to the rules is that the scenes that we make have to include main characters.
Yeah.
Our main characters. But at the same time, reactions don't have to involve only characters who are present at the scene. For example, a character can hear about what happened in the scene, and have a reaction to that. So last time, our second scene was kind of like breaking the first rule, but I think that the second thing that I just said can kind of like be used to resolve it if we want to play by the rules.
I mean, I think the thing that's also a little bit difficult, right? I mean, you do kind of want to have your main characters in a scene, but with only 2 players, it's a little difficult to sustain at times, right?
Yes.
So I feel like we should try to stick to that, but we shouldn't have to stick to it, right? Like we should try and maybe 80% of our scenes or 2/3 of our scenes should have a protagonist in it, but every once in a while, I think it's okay to just be like, yeah, but actually, there's not a protagonist present here. Tarn, as his reaction, will go to Corcel and brag to her about how her stupid plan isn't going to work, and how the city's not going to be taken in by her sponsorship, and how we're doing this other initiative instead with Unquali and not with her, and her plan is foiled. So he'll just fully give up any advantage of surprise that our protagonists had.
Perfect.
Tarn. Yeah, exactly. So how do we want to resolve that? Because I feel like Corcel would definitely do something here, right? Upon hearing this, should that just be her reaction, or do we want to construct a scene in which maybe Corcel, Unquali, and Kralik are present? Because that seems like that could be kind of cool to me.
Yeah, I mean, we can absolutely try doing that. It will be your scene, so technically it should be a Zula scene, not a Kralik scene.
Oh man, really?
Yeah.
It's that strict?
Yeah, because the idea is that you have to show what your main character thinks or does about the crossroad. But we can still have that scene later, and we can have Zula talk to somebody else. We can already venture into the unknown. This is all unedited material, audience. Just for you.
Well, Zula. All right, we're gonna do a scene then with Zula, and here's the problem, right? We're sort of out of characters, right? I want to do a scene with Zula without Kralik, and who can I do it with? I can do it with Naran and Unquali.
Yep.
And I feel like, well, maybe it'd be interesting to talk to actually either one of these, but I was thinking I would want to do a scene where she goes to form her team of rangers and somehow talks to Naran during the process. Right? She starts to collect recruits and Naran is there or something. I was
going to say, what if Naran volunteers to go and Naran is what if it's a scene like that?
I mean, the thing is, he is a farmer, but maybe there's a reason. I guess I can say that. I could be like, hey, you're a farmer. And then you can either come up with a smart reason for why it still works, or you can be disappointed. That's a scene.
Yeah.
All right. So our next scene is Zula. We see her, she goes to the watchtower to go and speak to the rangers. And at the base, there's already a large collection of them. It seems like faster than we anticipated, these plans are leaking out and people know what's up already and what's happening. So she's going to go there, and Naran's going to be there too.
Okay, perfect. Right.
Do you think Corcel should be there? Should I put her there too in case we want her?
I think that she will definitely be hovering around unless she's already talking to Unquali.
All right. maybe she's maybe here.
Mm-hmm.
She's
Yeah, you can
I reserve
decide.
the right to throw her in. Yeah, exactly. I reserved the right to throw her in at some point.
Perfect.
Zula stands
So,
at the steps of the mycelial chitinous watchtower, the
mm-hmm.
symbol of safety and oversight in the city for the last few generations. She stands atop the steps, looking at her people, and realizes that people already know what's happening, so she might as well announce it, and she might as well start putting together a team right now. She
Mm-hmm.
takes a deep breath. She calms her beating heart. She stares out to the crowd, and she says, Rangers, I am sure some of you have already heard of the developments that have occurred in the last few days. I am pleased to announce to you that Krellick has approved Councilman Krellick and Councilman Tarn have both approved an investigation of Rangers, an expedition of Rangers, to be sent to the ruins on the tree. However, this expedition will not be occurring as a part of the generous guild system. That offer was declined. We will be funding it ourselves. It will be a smaller expedition with the goal of scouting and securing enough information to plan future approaches. In the name of transparency, I will be leading this team. I am looking for recruits, those who are convinced that the ruins hold potential, those who are interested in investigating, those who are not afraid to face danger in the name of this potential. Are there any volunteers?
Do you want Naran to immediately speak up, or do you want to do the fourth person in line to sign up as Naran?
I don't know, man. Let's improv our way through it. You make the call.
All right. So a little line forms up immediately. You recognize most of the faces are the usual suspects.
Yep.
But after a particularly bulky B person, who you wouldn't expect to be one of the Rangers, moves aside after signing up, you recognize Naran, a moss farmer, who is of a certain status, from who you know to be kind of uppity about the current political climate, wanting to do something about it. Also, we never established it, but Naran, we never established what lineage is Naran from. What's his form?
He is literally a moss person farmer.
He's a moss person? He's not a person
who farms moss. He's a person who he's a moss who farms.
Okay.
I imagine an angry moss with floppy hair. You can't see his eyes necessarily. And I don't know. I guess he farms caterpillars, because we said that was sort of the main livestock.
That is what we
of Cinderhollow.
Okay. Perfect. Then you'll be like, I would like to join, Zula.
Naran, this is unexpected. You're not amongst the ranks of the Rangers.
Mm-hmm. And why is that, Zula? Okay. You're gonna play it like that?
Zula takes a moment to try and collect her thoughts and compose herself diplomatically. Naran, I respect the right you have to your opinion and to your view of the world, but there are certain...
You know that I was supposed to be one of you. And that my father shouldn't be able to decide what I do with my life.
Oh, interesting. As the touchstone, I decide that most people feel like Naran should have been allowed to join the Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They feel like he was unduly held back by the forces that be.
Yeah.
Naran, I understand.
And you let me train in secret until suddenly you changed your mind and snitched to my dad at the last moment. And he looks around looking for support now that I know that the people are on my side.
Zula takes a step back. Naran, I feel as though I can't speak to you on this in full honesty and fairness while you're also trying to whip up an audience for the conversation. Maybe we should speak on this a different time or in private.
Why? What's the matter, Captain? Afraid that people you're afraid you're not so in touch with the people anymore?
I'm afraid that inciting open rebellion is something the Ranger Captain, no matter how sympathetic to your motivations, cannot endorse in public. And having said that, it clearly implies that she kind of agrees with him, and she kind of agrees with the concept of rebellion, which, as the Ranger Captain, gives that idea a lot of legitimacy. And she immediately regrets her words. Because by saying what she can't say, she's said what she wants to say, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Look, Naran, I'm not going to confirm anyone here tonight. If you want to speak with me, you can speak with me in the tower. And she turns, she cuts the recruiting short, because it's not going right, and it's not going her way. And she says, we have a good starting crop of recruits. Spread the message. If anybody else would like to join, they may meet me inside the watchtower, and they may petition me to join as well. And she sort of awkwardly nods to the crowd and heads out. And there's a dead heat in the air. Something like, it feels like something was about to go down, and now it's not.
See you later, Captain.
I don't like Naran. Uh-oh. Do we want to keep this scene going? Does Naran show up later?
I think we can handle it as a reaction.
Okay. So then scene is over there. This was my scene. I decide if this is a crossroads or a crisis scene. This was not productive at all. So this was a crisis scene, in my opinion. So
Okay.
That is what I'm going to put in. So we have 1 tick on crossroads and 1 tick on crisis currently. I think, can we just call it here and say, not call it here, but you know what I mean? Can we just say it's going to be 3 ticks for crossroads and 3 ticks for crisis?
I think we can keep 4 ticks for crisis just because, it seems like we're crisis people.
Cruising for a crisis.
Yeah. Hey, that can be your opener the next episode.
I was thinking about it, but I have a different one that I also like, so maybe we'll do that one.
All right.
Okay, awesome. Do you want to do your reaction first? I think it's more important than mine.
Yeah, I think that Naran will go let some steam off let some steam off by drinking a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Not excessively, but he'll go with his friends to get a little bit of popular support. A couple of Rangers join him, and they just go at whatever tavern this place has or saloon, and to drink and get upset, and then later he will sober up, and then go meet Zula. And I think what he will say to Zula after having some time to think about it is that he actually stands by what he said, and that the fact that that causing an uproar, making a scene, was the only way for her to make this choice, and to make the choice of taking him in, without instead of breaking the rules, now it can be framed as listening to the people.
Okay, I think Zula's reaction is going to be, first off, she's going to let Krellick know what's going on. She's going to send a messenger to him to explain that tensions are high. And when she speaks with Naran, she's basically going to say, look, I cannot set the precedent that there was open defiance, that you would join my like recruitment team in open defiance of Krellick and the government. And then that you get through just because you create a popular uproar. So I think she's going to pose Naran a choice. You can come on, because I have sympathy for you in your position, you can come on the expedition if you publicly make a show of support and reconciliation towards Krellick, the Rangers, and everything else. Or you can stick to your party line and then I can't let you come. So you've tied my hands in the opposite direction you think. Like, this is not how the Rangers administration works. It doesn't work like this, that you whip up a mob and then I give in. That's not how we do it. So in a way, I feel like this is just leading into another scene of us talking, or I guess we can do more reaction stuff. I also feel like I have a reaction for a character. Like, I think Corcel would have a reaction to this, right? Corcel's reaction is she books it for Unqualis, and I think has at least one of her people join with the drinking with Naran, because she is like, this is perfect. I just need to get Naran and Unquali and myself into a room, and we've got it. we can really do something here. So I think Corcel's reaction is to like start to set the wheels in motion. Like, she needs to speak with Unquali, she needs to speak with Naran. So while Naran's getting drunk, I think she'll just send one of her people, another guild member, over to Naran, and then herself will go to the Oracle.
Okay. So this is reactions. I think we had enough reactions for now.
Mm-hmm.
So we're back to the scene. It's my turn to make to have a scene that has to involve Krellick somehow. I will have Krellick be in the temple. He will be walking away from a conversation that he just had with Unquali, where he tried to discuss kind of like terms of the agreement, and I think he will bump into Corcel and Naran, both also on the way to see Unquali, and it will be a tense scene. I'll be
shit.
like, "What are you doing here? I don't know. What are you doing here?"
Yeah. All right. As
So
we
yeah,
proceed
we
down the
are-
hallway,
we-
Corcel whispers to Naran, "Be quiet. Let's just walk past him."
And so they do, and see. No, I'm kidding.
Perfect. We are knocking this out of the park, man.
Yes. Corcel. Didn't think you were the religious type.
Ah, yes. Councilman Krellick. Well, I am. As you know, us Antari, she says, gesturing to herself. That's the name for the fire obsidian spider scorpion people.
Wait,
do
Antari
have our-
after the bug people are Arithrai?
Well,
After
I
you made
named
the false
Antari.
people, the moths people?
I did name Antari before you ever came up with Arithrai. So, I don't know. I'm going to Una reverse that one on you.
Okay.
Anyways, my people, she says, my people, have a jealous goddess whose rights must be observed. And there are always those, she indicates with her hand, willing to take on those studies. And she indicates to Naran.
Yes, I'm quite aware of your goddess's peculiarities, shall we say? We are all here because of them, aren't we?
Perhaps. She is impatient, though. Perhaps we should move on.
I believe I've seen Unquali leave the temple. Just before I decided to leave as well. Does that change your direction?
She gives him a challenge of a smile and says, "Why would it? No."
Because perhaps I thought that you were bringing Yan Naran here to have a conversation about subverting my order to have this expedition be only made of rangers and his priests.
Corcel steps forward, the fire that runs under her skin rippling, hot, and threatening, till she is close enough to be touching the spores that come off of Krellick, and she whispers to him quietly, "Perhaps, councilman, if your imagination was as good as your rulership, your order would not be so difficult to follow. Perhaps there would be no need for meetings between the Oracle, myself, and Neuron. Perhaps it is time for the old rotting wood to be burnt away, and for us to have a better tree."
Emissary, I will remind you that no matter how strong the fires around it burn, the faith of a community has kept this tree protected and healthy for half a century now. Maybe the fire should seek elsewhere to burn. We know what makes us strong.
Maybe we'll just have to break that community up.
Are you openly threatening me, emissary?
Perhaps. Who's here to witness our interaction except for Naran? In fact, councilman, I might recommend walking around with a little more protection these days. Who knows what could happen in the blind corner, witnessed only by myself and my supporters.
I would be careful not to overestimate the public favor that Naran and you enjoy. A couple of supporters at the pub do not make a movement.
Have a good evening, councilman. And she strides down the corridor with Naran in tow.
All right. Nice and tense. Woof.
So that feels like that wasn't Crisis. Come on. What are you talking about?
I mean, was it crisis? Like, I mean, we can't call every disagreement a crisis, right?
Yeah,
a
but I
crisis
did
is supposed
openly,
to be like, oh, we're going too far. Oh,
I did openly threaten your safety.
you did open through them. Yeah, you're right. All right. Another crisis box got checked. This kingdom is not going to survive.
Well, not with these
It's
people
for-
in it. Something's got to
not-
give.
Yeah. All right. Reactions. So I was thinking that so Corcel, like Krellick was flying and Unquali is still here.
Mm-hmm.
Just FYI. But
Mhm.
Unquali is my character, so just I wanted to say that Unquali is still around.
Mhm.
And I think that Naran will, to like circumvent the problem, Naran will become an acolyte of Unquali. So he's technically allowed to be on the expedition.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
I will say that Unquali is not 100% happy with that, because he knows that Naran is not a true believer, and this is all done in the interest of like advancing his goal in a utilitarian way. But Unquali is a true believer, and he feels like he's making a massive he's actually massively compromising himself and his beliefs, and he's not going to be happy with that. But what do Corcel and Unquali agree on?
I think Corcel, yeah, exactly. I think Corcel is going to go to talk to Unquali and basically forge, at first, just forge a superficial alliance that we will support one another's causes, right?
Mhm.
You make sure that Naran gets to go on the expedition. I'll make sure the expedition is well enough equipped that it'll be able that they can delve deep into the ruins, right? And even though I won't take a financial cut right now, right? I will like I'm setting myself up. Actually, yeah, no, I think I will take a financial cut right now.
Just
I will
secretly.
equip the yeah, I think maybe I'll equip the expedition. Like I'll equip your acolytes to support them, and in exchange I want a percentage of what you retrieve from the ruins. Um and meanwhile, now that Naran is going to be there, she's going to talk to him about getting rangers who maybe not so publicly empathize with Naran, get those people to petition Zula to be on the team, so we can work both sides of this thing. I think that's the sort of I think that's the plan Corcel goes for.
Okay, interesting. Yep, sounds good. And then Naran will join in the Unquali group, as we said. Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay.
What if we did? Here's the issue again. I just feel like we're gonna need 2 more turns to X out this crossroads thing. But I feel like it's just absolutely clear that we're going to expedition into the ruins. I know the rules say not to skip ahead, even when it looks clear, but I don't know what scenes to do with Zula now. I mean, I could do a scene with Zula and Umquali, I guess, where she learns a little about his faith. I could do a scene with Zula and Krellick where she just says goodbye, like, "Hey, we're leaving now." But I guess of the 2 of those, the Umquali scene is the most interesting, and we haven't heard from Umquali yet. All right, so
You can also You can also have Zula and Naran again after the recent developments. You know,
yeah, but I
Zula
don't
can
think
be
they want
aware
to
of them.
talk. Like after the recent developments, the developments are fuck you. No, fuck you. Like, so I think when Zula hears about all of this, she is pretty stressed out because she doesn't know how to balance her loyalty to Krellick and what she knows the people want, which is just not to have. They are just sick and tired of Krellick as a councilman, and they want to be able to explore their environment, right? And she's going to look for spiritual guidance. So this is a few days later, right? A few days later, she heads to the temple and she receives spiritual guidance from the Keratin Queen, which doesn't fully help her. And on her way out, she bumps into Umquali, and they end up striking up a conversation.
Captain.
Oh, Oracle, I didn't expect to see you here. I suppose I should have.
Yes, where else would I be? You think me perhaps spending more time with Corcel than with my god?
I don't know. I apologize if I offended you. I don't know what to be doing in this. I don't know anything anymore.
Your community, that I confess. I still after 10 years here with you, I am still learning new things about. Seems to be very interested in exploring the outside, and I just don't understand what is so difficult for the councilmen to accept that.
I don't know, Oracle. I think it's a time of flux. You know, some of us want to explore, some of us don't. We're not all on the same page about what that means or what the potential is. Krellick grew up in a different, older world. I don't think it's one that we can return to, or even necessarily that we should want to return to. But as captain of the Rangers, I can't just turn my back on him and his vision. the laws of our society are binding. It is the right thing to do to support him. But I just worry. I think at some point, if we resist the interest of the people enough, our authority is going to fail. And when it does, we'll be left with chaos. How does the Sky God handle chaos? Does he have any good lessons? The Chitin Queen, I can say confidently, does not.
The Sky God is all about chaos. Chaos is where freedom reaches its highest and where we can truly leave a mark on this world, a legacy. When things are stable, people enjoy the peace and prosperity. But it is in these moments, Sula, that when faith in institutions shake, that is when we get to make decisions not because of the laws, but because of what we believe is right. What do you believe is right deep into your heart, Sula? I know you have a history with Krellick, but perhaps for the greater good.
Zula thinks on those words and thinks how for the second time in a span of less than 3 days, she's being asked to do what she thinks is right in her heart. And she thinks on how she
By two
feels in
people
her
with
heart.
a surprisingly similar accent.
Hey. And she thinks about how she feels about the council in her heart. And she thinks about, and she doesn't like what she finds. I think Unkwali can read some of this on her face, but she says to him, instead of replying to his answer, she says, putting that aside for now, Oracle, do you truly believe the Sky God can guide us in uncertain times? And what proof is there that this approach works?
To let the Sky God guide you through chaos would be antithetical to the spirit of freedom itself. The best you can hope from my God is tools to navigate the uncertainty, but ultimately, he offers no answers. For that would be tyrannical, and that is not what he is about.
Wow. I have to say that surprises me. I appreciate your counsel, Oracle, and you have given me much to think on. I must be on my way, though. And she turns and she leaves with a very strange feeling in her chest.
And he will murmur, "You cannot escape responsibility, Zula. No one can."
So that felt like a crossroads scene to me.
I mean, yeah. I don't know. Depending on what Zula's reaction is she going to kill Krellick?
Yes. Yeah. Wait,
just like fashions her arm into a sword thanks to her keratin magic and just like straight up cuts Krellick in two.
No, I don't think that's what she's gonna do. I think her reaction is mostly internal. She starts to think a lot about the nature of the city, the nature of the current governmental system, and I think maybe she will return Because the temple is the center of sort of spirituality and magic in this
Mhm.
setting, I feel like that kind of makes them also a center of knowledge and technology.
Mm-hmm.
I think Zula is going to go home, think a lot on this, and then start to put out feelers. She'll start reading some. I think she'll literally start reading like some history, some political philosophy. I think she'll start maintaining more vigilant contact with individual members of the Rangers who she personally trusts. And she's going to be thinking on that theme of tools to handle uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
And she's going to start trying to collect those.
Okay.
I feel like the consequence of this scene, the more I think about it, the consequence of this scene is that she feels crisis is inevitable, so she's going to start arming herself for crisis proactively.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what she does. What about Unkwali?
Unkwale will go speak with Naran. And for Unkwali, if Naran is kind of going to use his religion as a tool, then Unkwali is going to use Naran as a tool back. Because respect is like the lack of Naran's respect for his religion, for Unkwali means, you don't respect me, I don't respect you. And so Unkwali will go talk to Naran and persuade him to go apologize to Zula and to push her towards Krellick, not by stoking the flame that Unkwali just lit in her.
Okay.
Or if Unkwali already stoked the flame that was already there, Naran is going to stoke it even more.
Double
Go
stoke.
stoke. Yeah.
All right.
And Naran will actually do that. And he will go to Zula and apologize and open his heart to her about like how he feels about the current political climate.
Okay.
And yeah.
How he was unfairly banned from joining the Rangers. Okay. We have at least one more scene for this crossroads.
We have at least one more scene.
I was thinking, Thea.
Yeah.
If Naran is going on this mission and Zula is going on this mission, what if Unkwali went on this mission? Then we would have 3 of our characters, 2 minor, 1 major, on this mission, and we would have 3 of our characters, 2 minor, 1 major, back in Cinderhollow. That feels like that could be interesting.
Sure, except if a big stone crushes you.
Well, we better make sure a big stone doesn't crush us then.
All right. I guess it could be interesting. I don't know. I mean, Unkwali feels like the type of like proactive leader that would probably go.
And it would be great because we could keep talking. Like if we do any crossroads in the ruins, we would have you and Naran and Zula there, and we could talk.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that sounds good. But we still need one more scene now from me.
Yeah. Well, maybe it could be related to that. It could be a scene with Krellick, Unkwali, Tarn, and Zula, or something like that.
Yeah. I think that can be handled when we resolve the crossroad and we talk about the consequences of it.
Okay.
I want to explore a little bit our last character that we haven't really fleshed out, Tarn. So, this will be Krellick and Tarn having a heart-to-heart in the cemetery, the Hall of Memory. Krellick will say, Tarn, I would like to talk to you, but not here. Follow me. and they will go down the stairs that lead actually from. It's actually very close to City Hall because the Hall of Memory is actually under the lake of City Hall.
Mm.
So that if fire ever breaks out on there, it's close to a source of water to avoid that the cemetery, that the fire destroys the tombs.
Yeah, I mean, it's all underground. It's pretty hard to burn.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, we'll walk under the lake. And in the Hall of Memory, actually, some of the water of the lake actually manages to kind of like seep through the stone in cracks. And because of that, the Hall of Memory, there's always water drops, like tears falling from the ceiling of this cave. There's always flip, flip, flip.
You
Tarn.
wanted to speak with me?
Yes, Tarn.
I'm all ears. Did I do something wrong?
You didn't do anything wrong, Tarn. I just wonder. I had a conversation with Corsell, and I think, well, she's overestimating her influence. I think we might be underestimating it. I need to hear when you go home, when you talk to people, what do you hear? What do they say? People don't talk to me the way they used to since last year.
Well, I mean, there's lots of different opinions, but there's always supporters, and then there's some people who they want more change, or they don't like the current system, but I just think they don't have enough experience with it, and as we just need to wait for them to get their turn in the seat, and then they'll get their chance to speak on things. But I mean, there's some people who are dissatisfied, but they're just misguided, I think.
Maybe Zula is right. 30 years ago, I was thinking that the counselors were doing the wrong thing. Well, at the time it wasn't Corsell, but when the first emissary showed up, I already thought that the counselor at the time shouldn't have opened up the way that they did. Me and my friends at the time, we wanted things to change just as Naran does now, but we were frustrated that we couldn't because it wasn't our turn on the throne yet. But if at the time our voices could have been heard, then perhaps it wouldn't have come to this. And maybe if Naran and Corsell had a way to object to me that wasn't insubordination, that maybe it wouldn't have to come to this.
I mean, you have the expertise. I have to defer to you. I don't really know.
I have a year of expertise, Tarn.
Well, but you have so many years of life experience that I don't have.
That is true. And he will look upon the tombs around him. My friends have died afraid that Corsell would turn this place into something that it is not, which is to say, not ours. I don't want to die with the same fear. You have a longer life ahead of you. What do you want? What do you hope for your land, for this place in 30, 40 years?
Tarn looks at Krellick kind of nervous, scared. Like it's a question he hasn't studied for on the test. I'm not sure. I suppose. I guess we'd want it to be safer. We'd want to know what was in the ruins. We'd want to have better protections in infrastructure from the outside. Better tools or materials. I don't think we'd want to be under the guild's thumb, especially not if it's Corcel. But I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure how any of this would really exactly work. It's a path. It feels like a very dangerous path. And we can't afford to make mistakes on it. So we have to be careful.
Isn't being careful what led us here?
Maybe
Me
we
being
weren't careful enough.
Hard to say. I'm getting an increasing feeling that my mandate will end before my 2 years are over. If you know what I mean.
We'll stop that from happening.
Well, if it does, please remember that this place is truly special and one of a kind, and it is worth fighting for it's worth fighting for our own self-determination. I know you don't have a very strong political view yet, but this might be your only opportunity to affect this town. These 2 years. You're 3 months in. You have most of your mandate still ahead of you. And it might be only one. So if my mandate ends early, please fight for Cinderhollow.
We'll make sure that doesn't happen. And they part ways. And as my role as the touchstone, I say that Tarn is only being 3 months in, still a bit of an untested quantity in the opinions of the people, and therefore not deeply unpopular.
Mm-hmm.
There's goodwill left that has not been burned through.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Was this a crossroads or a crisis scene?
This is a crossroad.
All right. Here we go. 3 out of 3 crossroads.
Okay.
Uh,
Are you ready for my bombshell reaction?
Maybe I should do mine first because it's not a bombshell.
Are you sure? I mean, okay.
Tarn goes up to the gardens, the impermanent gardens that get burned away by every storm, where a lot of like younger people hang out and people do art, and it's sort of the vibrant and free thinking part of the thing. And he climbs up to the very tippy top of it where you can find some solitude, and he sits and he thinks about better answers to the questions that Krellick asked him during that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And he thinks on his own. No outside influence. All right, Krellick, what the fuck are you going to do?
So, Krellick will... I imagine the camera floating behind Krellick as he seems to look for a specific tomb and then bends over it and inserts his mycelial tentacles inside.
Uh-oh.
Then he will later go visit Zula. And he will tell her that, well, first, I think he'll have a heart-to-heart to her about how she feels about the current political system. And he will remind her that even though you don't need to face consequences for re-election, after 2 years of the mandate, every councillor has to return to being a civilian and live with the consequences of their action as councillor, as a civilian. So there are consequences. You just don't... just different.
Yeah, just not if you're old.
Well, I mean, of course, for Krellick, it's kind of like a different situation, but the system as a whole is like, yeah, you like your whatever choices you have, you make, then they affect your loved ones for the rest of your life. But yeah, and then he will give her give her a little document that is like nominating her as his replacement in case he dies.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. And then finally, he will go to his back to whatever his home is, and he will pull out essentially like a snapped false person like blade that he dug out of like one of his friend's tombs earlier.
Oh no, come on.
Yeah.
No.
Why not?
It's too soon. Do it in the next crossroads. Set it up
Crossroads?
and pay it off in the next crossroads.
Okay, he will pull it out and he will hide it under his bed.
He will pull it out and look at it, and the audience goes, fuck. Chekhov's spider blade.
Chekhov's spider blade.
All right.
He wants to die hopeful.
This episode is already kind of running over, but we have to resolve this crossroads, I think, before we go on to the next episode.
I mean, the crossroad is resolved.
We have to go through the actual mechanics of the crossroad. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We'll do it now. Okay. Crossroad. Resolving the crossroad. So I think it should be up to you.
Yeah, so the way that we resolve the crossroad.
So review the crossroad. So we currently have the situation where
first the people with power decide yes or no, do we go on the crossroads?
Yeah.
Then the people with perspective, which is none of us. So in this case, because I wasn't the person who said, will the kingdom send a ranger expedition into the ruins, decides the consequences of the decision. And that involves a little bit of randomness. In the game, it's like showing numbers, but we're going to do it with dice rolling because it doesn't work well with 2 people. And then the person with touchstone describes how the people feel about all of that happened, right?
Yes.
That's pretty much it, right? That's how we
Mhm.
resolve it.
Yes. Okay. So, power.
Yes, you are the man with power.
Yes, I
Tell
am the
us,
man.
yes or no? Are we sending an expedition?
Yes, we are sending in the expedition. After all. Um, and we'll see what happens.
Okay.
And
I am the person with perspective, so
no,
I
you're
have
not.
to roll for consequences.
I mean, you're not the person
Um,
with perspective, but you will roll for consequence. You have touchstone.
yeah. What I mean is, I'm the stand-in this
Yeah,
time
sure.
because I didn't set up the thing.
Mhm.
So let's roll a d20. I rolled a 13. So normally the way it works is like each of you shows a number, which is 1 or 2 with your hands, and then you add up the total of the group. And if it's odd, something happens. If it's even, something happens. And if everybody has the same number, something different happens.
Oh
In our case,
no!
we just turned it into a d20 roll. I rolled a 13, which means a major consequence, because on our table, 1 to 4 is nothing unpredictable, 5 to 12 is minor consequence, and 13 to 20 is major consequence. So, the major consequence, and the consequences have to be negative.
Yeah.
So the major consequence is I have to tick 2 on the crisis box, right?
Yeah. So we reach a crisis.
So, I tick 2 on the crisis box. I still make up a consequence, even though we're going to go into a crisis now, right?
Yeah. I mean, the consequences and the crisis might be tied.
Okay. The major consequence is that the expedition, including Zula, Unkwali, and Naran, gets trapped in the ruins. And they aren't there to help when the kingdom gets attacked by a bunch of lava
Zula,
crabs.
Unkwali, and Naran are all trapped.
Yeah.
In the ruins.
Yeah. So they're not going to be there to defend. They're not going to be there to defend Cinderhollow when a bunch of monsters attack, which is what's going to happen now. A bunch of monsters are attacking.
Yeah, I mean, we already kind of decided that would be the next crossroad, and now it's worse. Now it's worse.
Now we have to resolve crisis stuff first. So how does the crisis work?
Okay, let's go to crisis. Essentially, in crisis, we will each have first a narrative moment where we'll kind of describe what the crisis is like. So let's start with that. Show the crisis. First, is this going to be the end of our game, even if the crisis is resolved positively?
Well, I want to do about one more episode of this, so
Okay,
maybe
so no. Okay.
Maybe no.
If the kingdom is destroyed, the game ends, whether you plan to stop or not. So if we fail the crisis minigame, then that's it.
All right.
Okay, so now each player gives a short description of a specific incident to show how the crisis is unfolding and threatening the kingdom. Why don't you start? Maybe you can give us a little bit more detail about that consequence you just gave us, about what's going on.
So I guess I'm just going to add a crisis field to our sheet, and I'll say the crisis is basically a little Antari spider girl has vision that a whole bunch of monsters are going to come this way in like waves. So there's going to be waves of like lava spider crabs.
Wait, but that's the next crossroad. Like the crisis has to be like pertinent to what is going on right now, not what will happen.
Right. Well, the idea is that we're trapped in the ruins, right? And so we're not there to help protect. Mm-hmm. So or does the crisis have to be like, because if we're trapped in the ruins, so we're being trapped in the ruins in and of itself is not a negative consequence unless it means we're not there for something important, right?
Sure. But I mean,
so how does that work?
I can imagine. Okay. How about
because it seems to me like the crisis is that half of us are gone and we're being attacked. That seems like the crisis to me. That doesn't seem like it used to be the crossroads. Now I think it's the crisis.
Well, maybe, but how do you feel about this?
All right, pitch me.
We're in main city hall.
Mm-hmm.
There have been no news from the expedition in 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
Krellick is extremely uneasy. He's not feeling
Mm-hmm.
good. He is both health-wise and nerve-wise. He is falling apart. And what's her name? Corcel storms into City Hall, accusing him of having sabotaged the mission, and how fortuitous it is that all the rangers that were that opposed his view, Naran, Unkwali, and Zula,
Mm-hmm.
all happened to get trapped. All happened to
Mm-hmm.
disappear on this mysterious expedition. How convenient for him.
Yep.
And perhaps the people, I don't know, Mr. Actually, there are no roles here, so I'm not Power and you're not Touchstone right now.
Okay.
The roles are gone. So I'll actually say that like a lot of people who were on the set of Naran or Zula now are very suspicious. And
Mm-hmm.
even though all the remaining guards, the Rangers, are the Rangers that are more loyal to him than to Zula, they're not enough if the people are about to storm City Hall in protest. All the while, Krellick he's falling apart because Zula's gone and Naran is gone, and they might all be dead.
Okay.
How's
That
that for a
sounds like
crisis?
that sounds like your vision of the crisis. That sounds like your interlude.
Yep.
So now I need to do one too. And what can you tell me just exactly what the game says about this? What it wants me to do? Like, just give me the text.
Okay. Decide to gather. Each player gives a short description of a specific incident to show how the crisis is unfolding and threatening the kingdom. Don't include any of our characters in these vignettes. Yeah, but we want them to. I think it's fine.
All right, your vignette is a mob is going to attack City Hall. This accusation from the character. I think I'm going to stick to my guns. My vignette is a dark storm is gathering on the horizon, and in that storm, something moves. And it is coming closer to the city, and we see the people in the city becoming more frightened and more upset and scared because the Rangers are needed at the wall and at the city hall both, and there's not enough of them here, and there's not enough of them to guard both, and we're all gonna die. Ah!
All right, next step. And it's a little bit interesting because the next step related to what you just said is like interesting. Because it seems to assume that our main characters are in the kingdom right now, but yours is not. Take turns describing what your main character does or doesn't do in the crisis. You can try to save the kingdom, destroy it, or save your own skin and flee. Say where you are and what you do. And this is important. If you choose to kind of like flee or try to destroy it or stuff like that, when we vote for the outcome of the crisis, you are automatically voting for the kingdom to fail.
Okay. Well, maybe I should just talk about Corcellin this time and Tarn. Right? Like,
yeah,
my main character
the people who are in the kingdom.
Yeah, exactly. The people who are in the kingdom. And if they need to have a power, we could give them a power that we think is appropriate.
I think that if you want to, we can have we can literally have an overthrow.
Yeah, so the way that an overthrow works, right, is that I have a character challenge another character and say basically, I have the real power of decision making in this situation because military coup, or I have the real knowledge of what the people want because you're stuck in a ruin and I'm actually here. Right? And then that person's power can be overthrown, right?
Yeah. So only main character can have a main role. So you kind of have to leave Zula. For now, at least, you can always switch that back, but you have to leave Zula behind and
Yeah.
promote Corcel or Tarn.
Thing is, if I promote Corcel, I think we're gonna die.
I dare you, do it.
All right. I mean, here's the thing, Thea. Right? This might be episode 4. We might be in episode 4 already because this episode has gone way over already. So is this maybe episode 4, and is maybe this crisis actually the end?
Are we bad at this game? Are we incapable of just having a low stakes crossroad? Because like this idea for this crossroad last episode, like when we recorded this the first time, I thought, okay, we're not going to start with the most dangerous crossroad. We're going to start with a crossroad where, yeah, we can disagree on it, but it's not about the politics yet. It's about exploring. And then we'll make it about politics. But like, yeah. But anyways, here we are doing a January 6th.
All right. So here's what we're going to do. There's 2 main conflict resolution mechanisms in this game when 2 players have and like they disagree about something. The one is called fight or fix, and the other one is called overthrow. Fight or fix is basically I say, you said that, but what if it was like this? And then the other person can accept that with conditions, or they can just decline it. Overthrow is you say you have this power, but actually I think my character has this power. So in this case, I'm going to use the overthrow ability from my own side character on my main character, and I'm going to metaphorically have Corcel say to Zula, I actually know how the people feel in this city because I'm actually here and you're gone and you're trapped. And that was the consequence of your last crossroads. So Corcel is now my primary character, and she has the power of touchstone. She knows how the people really feel about things. And what Corcel is doing to save the city, she needs to save the city from Krellick, obviously. So Corcel is, she manages to figure it out so that like just before the storm pulls up to the city, a big caravan of her people that was actually leaving comes back, and her forces are now redoubled. And these people are armed with chitinous swords and shields. And these are the guild militia, the guild guards. And she is adding them to the mob to reinforce it, because we're going to take City Hall down and we're going to save this city from Krellick.
Okay.
That's my vignette.
That's your vignette. Well, very cool vignette. Soon to be counselor. All right. Back to resolving the crisis. Okay. So, what does your character do? Well, no,
you have to tell us what Krellick is doing this time.
Yeah, right. What does Krellick do? Krellick is not going to flee. Krellick is going to stand his ground and die if he has to.
All right. Are you making allies? Are you doing anything other than resolutely martyring yourself?
No. Krellick is not going to ask anybody else to stand by him.
All right.
Maybe Tarn will, if he wishes to. But Krellick will stand his ground alone, and and speak to the mob and try to convince them that he is not conspiratorially killing his surrogate daughter for power.
Yeah.
And and second, that the path of Corcel is ultimately Corcel's way is ultimately bad for everyone except maybe Corcel, but maybe even not Corcel. And at this point, I will change his role, because I think that Krellick has lost power, but he has gained perspective.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I think I changed Krellick from power to perspective. Okay, that's what we do. Step 3, outcome. Based on what occurred, each player decides whether they think the kingdom should survive. Decide as a player, not your character. Everyone votes simultaneously. Thumbs up if you think the kingdom should survive. Thumbs down if you think it should fall. hand flat if you're neutral. And if your character abandoned the kingdom, vote thumbs down, but nobody did. And then there's an outcome if the result is positive, if the result is negative, and if the result is 0.
I think we still need to, before we go to this step, we should resolve what's going on with Tarn. He's our only other character who's present in this situation, and I think we should know what he's doing.
Sure, you decide. He's your minor character.
I feel a little bad just me deciding. Do you want to decide together?
I'm okay with this.
Okay. I was thinking while Corcel is driving all her focus and all her power towards the main city hall, I think maybe Tarn is going to go to the temple. And because this is the other pole of power in this place. And I think he's going to get the support of the acolytes and the people in the temple to defend us from this storm, right? Because I think he is a little scared, and I think he can't take this mob head on, but we do have to actually deal with this storm, and how are we going to do it with all the Rangers defending City Hall? And so I think he's going to go out of his way to, of his own authority and his own accord, organize something with the temple acolytes to protect us from the storm. It seems like something the temple acolytes would actually be good at.
Okay. Cool. Sounds good. Then
okay. So this is
the
vote.
Literally alone. Okay. So how do we want to do this?
I think Tarn is he's outside. He can't get to you. And you just said, oh, I'm stubbornly holding my ground. Like you didn't say, oh, I call out to Tarn. So I'm like, I don't know. Do you think Tarn should actually come and save you? Should I do that instead?
I mean, Tarn could be in there not because he went from outside to inside, but because he was inside all along in the main city hall. So I think he could be there. I think he could not be there. It's okay. I'm not protesting. I'm just saying there is a way for Tarn to just be there.
But tragically, he isn't.
Perfect. I'm gonna set up here. Yeah, crisis vote. Okay, so we have a Theia, we have a Ceres, and I'm gonna say that we each, thumbs down, thumbs up. You vote 1. You write 1 in there if for thumbs up, and -1 for thumbs down. And then you press enter. We press enter at the same time and see our votes. All right, Ceres, write your vote. If we have a tie, we will. If we fail, if we have a negative outcome, kingdom is over. If we have a positive outcome, we have to figure out how the crisis resolves, and the crisis meter resets. If we have a 0 outcome, then the kingdom is not over, but the crisis meter only goes down by 2 boxes. So we're still the situation is still gonna be tense. It's only a temporary victory. The kingdom is still in peril.
So negative, 0, or positive. Those are
negative,
our
0,
outcomes.
positive are the outcomes, but you can only vote positive or negative. So only +1 or -1. Oops. Well, you've seen my vote. I'm sure you already had your idea. Don't change it. Hey, I knew it. You want to see the world burn.
All right.
We have a neutral outcome, 0.
The crisis voted +1. The kingdom should survive. I voted -1. The kingdom should fall apart and die.
Perfect. Ceres really doesn't want to play another episode. So, yeah. Okay. Then now we describe the outcome of the crisis based on that result. And we can describe what happens to our characters and what happens to the kingdom, and then we move on. So I think that Krellick will probably agree to step down, but he actually no, he will agree to step down when Zula returns or Zula is confirmed to be dead, because he named her his successor and he will stick by it. So that's Krellick's decision.
Mm-hmm.
And until then, he will remain in power. But it is clear that like his authority is greatly diminished. That is why his role is no longer power; it's perspective.
All right, I don't know exactly how to do this because Corcel would like to kill Krellick.
Oh, interesting. Well, the thing is, you can't kill me without me giving you consent to kill my character.
May
And
Corcel kill your character?
no, I would like Krellick to still be around a little bit, but we can agree on Corcel. We can agree on Krellick being not getting his way and being displaced from the position of counselor to just like retiring now.
All right.
And somebody else has to get onto the throne, has to fulfill the other thing while Zula is gone.
Yeah, of course, Corcel.
Corcel is not from here.
Yeah, but she's in charge. That's at least the direction I think is plausible and I would want to go in. She's the ringleader of the mob right now. There's not even Naran there to challenge, like, of the entire coalition of discontents, all the major leaders are gone except for her.
Mm-hmm.
And she was the one who funded this mission. She was the one who wanted to protect our people, and Krellick sabotaged them and killed them all. She's the only one with the resources, with the guild guard, with everything to save us from the storm. So put her in charge. She is the emergency counselor.
Mm-hmm. Up until Zula returns, of course.
Well, Zula's dead, so that there's no worries with that. Right?
Oh no, okay. I will have Krellick make Corcel promise, swear in front of the crowd that he will that if Zula returns alive and well, she will rightfully succeed Krellick, and Corcel will step down gracefully.
Okay.
Cool. Interesting to see when that happens.
I would also like Corcel would like to take Tarn and put him in protective custody for his own good.
Corcel would like to take Tarn into protective custody?
Mm-hmm.
Probably not,
with her
right?
newfound authority.
Yeah, probably not, right? First, because Tarn is now like the senior counselor,
Mm-hmm.
and then Tarn is like has like the priesthood on his side right now, doing important work. I don't know if
so we have to resolve this storm.
And also,
So,
would Krellick I think Storm can be our next crossroad now that we know that the kingdom survives. But I think that like it makes sense. It would make sense for Tarn to have taken in something from Krellick and not allow for Corcel to just like stomp all over him the way that maybe Krellick did before. You know?
yeah,
A little bit of growth, like Tarn surprise, Tarn rise up. Legacy of Krellick.
I feel like from my perspective for Tarn it's too little too late. Right? Like Corcel is like she's taking control of the city now. She's harnessing this, right? She's taking control of the city. And I was thinking Tarn and the temple people successfully defend against the storm, but they're left, weakened after that. That's a difficult thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
She swoops in after the fact, gets him into private, and then when he's in private, she's like, all right, yeah, we're going to throw you into a secret cell.
That sounds like a very interesting conflict to explore in our second crossroad.
Okay.
Like, I'm open to this playing out in the second crossroad, but I don't want to decide it just like this now.
Okay. I will take power.
Yeah, I figured.
The storm we're going to leave unresolved. This will be the next crossroads?
Yeah.
Okay, so the crisis is resolved now. The crisis box goes down by 2, but it's not all the way down to 0, right?
Correct.
Okay, you'll find out next time what happens to our crossroads. I think we're at a very exciting point here. We didn't, unfortunately, manage to do 2 crossroads, which was the plan for today, but we did one crossroad very differently.
Yeah. This did not play out the way it did last time.
Yeah. Do you have anything you want to plug?
I finished Severance. I already plugged Severance once, but now I finished Severance Season 2. And I can say that while season 1 is probably better, season 2 is great. And you should watch it. That's it. That's the plug.
That's awesome. I'm glad it held up. I will plug. Speaking of authoritarian takeovers, I will plug Mouse. I don't know if you've read Mouse, but it is a graphic novel and it is excellent. I find it's about World War II and the story of a Jewish man surviving the Holocaust. And I think it is a really well done story because of its honesty and how much it just follows reality and it doesn't really have a message that it's trying to give you. And so it really leaves a lot open to interpret, and it feels like really profound history. And obviously, there's obvious lessons about the horrors of the Holocaust and how awful it was, but there are parts of it that are idiosyncratic in really profound and interesting ways. And the fact that it's not fiction, but it's just reality, you really feel it. So I'm going to plug Mouse. It's really good, and I recommend anybody read it. I had a really good time reading it.
Yeah, I know Mouse. I second that. I can second that motion, counselor.
Emergency counselor. Alrighty, folks. That'll just about do it for episode 32 of our podcast. If you want more, you can find us on youtube.com/@a-friendly-orbit, as well as Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you happen to have any Astral Echoes you want to share with us, you can email us at @a-friendly-orbit@gmail.com, all one word.
All right, Ceres. I'll talk to you later. And to all of our fellow Voyagers, we'll see you out there amongst the stars.